This is Weights and Wealth, your one-stop shop for entertaining education on building a stronger body and bank account.
We are not doctors or financial advisors and must warn you this is not medical or investing advice. It is for your entertainment.
Welcome back to Weights and Wealth, the number one faith, fitness, finance, family, and freedom podcast.
Kind of aggressive with those F's there.
The 5 F's. I'm practicing. It's important to emphasize the F. So who's the F in your life?
What does that mean?
Whatever you want it to. They can be the source of faith, the source of freedom.
Oh, that's actually a really good one. We should do this.
Yeah.
Okay. Faith, a source of faith, and someone who, I guess, guides me.
Yeah.
There's a guy from my old small group back when I was in Clarksville, my Bible study on Saturday mornings. Shout out to Steve Anderson. I guess that's a shout out for this episode. So shout out to Steve from Clarksville, Tennessee. Steve's been very instrumental. He's just one of those older guys in the church that I can go to with questions or with anything personal. So I think it's really important to have someone as a Christian in your life, usually an older person in the church that you can go to.
Yeah. He's kind of your Virgil. Mm-hmm. He's guiding you through this faith journey. That's awesome.
What about you?
Awesome.
Who would you put as your big F?
My big F.
Your big F for faith.
Big F for faith. That's tough. I would say of guys that I like, if we're just talking guys, obviously my wife is huge. Just keeping me accountable, and because I live with her.
That's a given.
And but she just excels in that aspect of our relationship. But as far as people outside of family, he's not really outside of family, but my cousin James, supremely knowledgeable. If you want to talk to him about anything related to our faith, he will have the most well thought out and nuanced answer. And another shout out, but he runs the Broken Binnacle. We're hoping to do an interview with him soon. But we figured we'd just, give him a quick shout out here. So if you're interested in, just kind of philosophy and, just kind of thinking on religious topics, particularly apologetics and stuff like that, that's his whole thing. And he runs a Substack with a couple guys that he graduated from college from. Cool. And they all just pick a subject. It's pretty regular publishing, and he just finds inspirational quotes and just topics to think about and topics to talk about. And they have these really nuanced, well-written articles that they publish. So if you're interested in anything in the philosophy realm,
Broken Binnacle on Substack.
Yep, check them out.
Weights wisdom for this week is to reduce stress. We all know it. People say it all the time. You see headlines. Reduce your stress. Stress is bad for your health. But to give the real quick and dirty on it, chronic stress will increase your cortisol, inflammation, blood pressure. It will increase your cravings even, what foods you're attracted to eat. And it will decrease your testosterone. Cortisol and testosterone have not an exactly inverse relationship, but check out the testosterone ebook for more information on
just
that.
To be aware, like a lot of people talk about supplements and stuff like that. Ashwagandha is one of those out there that they market as a test booster, but it's not a test booster. It just reduces your cortisol.
It's an adaptogen. It helps you handle stress better.
Exactly.
And high stress will decrease testosterone. It will decrease your sleep quality, which affects your testosterone and your recovery as well. Yeah. One of the best ways I've personally found to decrease stress is through reading the Bible and through praying. I find that when I'm good about reading the Bible in the morning, I feel much less stressed throughout the day.
Yeah. Mine is usually just being right about something. I'm much less stressed. Like in bingo, for example, I'm
Sean Stradamus over here.
It's pretty unbelievable.
Real quick funny side story with this.
I just want to highlight that Ted has almost nothing right.
Well, that's the old one. But real quick, my wife's probably going to hate that I tell the story, but she asked me not long after she met you, or not after she met you for the first time, because that was very early on in our relationship, but after she got to know you better, she was like, why does Sean think he's right about everything? And I was like, well, when you are constantly right about a lot of things that people tell you you're wrong about, you start to believe that you're right about everything.
Yeah. It's been a long journey. It's been an uphill one, but gosh.
So the bingo board.
It's lonely on the top.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
It's lonely at the top. So for those of you that don't know, before the year started, Nick, Sean, and I made bingo boards for 2024, and we put different things on our bingo boards that we thought would happen in 2024. Some of them are things that we absolutely thought would happen. For example, one of mine was Joe Biden will drop out of the race. I was like, this will absolutely happen because look at him, listen to him speak. Wound up happening. Some of them are much more just like kind of almost like a joke. I guess one of mine that would have been more of a joke would have been
Sean takes a course to gain street cred.
Sean takes a course to gain street cred. So we had like varying different bingo guesses of what we thought would happen in 2024, but we've done pretty well, especially Sean. So we'll go through some of the ones that we've already gotten right as we are in the almost fourth quarter of the year here. And then that episode was early on. I think we released that episode in February.
Yeah, but we recorded it literally over New Year's.
Yeah, because we recorded so many at once in a weekend. It
was all, none of us cheated, I promise. Yeah. But one of the things that Ted has gotten right, at least not on a federal level, but on a state level, social media has been banned for kids/teens, and Biden has dropped out of the race. Yep. Can you pick out any more of these? I think some of these that might. I think
some more are election dependent. I have China attacks Taiwan and Russia. Ukraine war ends as far as foreign policy. So those could still happen. Some of my economic ones, I'm pretty sure will happen. Let's see. I've got
Pfizer.
I had one about the Fed funds interest. Yeah, Fed funds interest rate stays above 5%. In 2023, at the end of 2023, if you listen to any of the mainstream economists, Bloomberg, when they put out their predictions, widely respected in the industry, they thought there would be 6 rate cuts in 2024.
Yeah.
I said there will be 2 or less. There have not been any rate cuts yet. So for your financial predictions, don't go to Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Come to
Weights and Wealth. Come to Weights and Wealth.
But I think I've had, oh no, it died. Okay, Sean, do you remember some of yours? Right. Sean's had the most right.
Yeah.
And we are back. Sorry, the computer died and we didn't print our notes for this batch of episodes. So
it's all good.
We are back. And Sean, what were some of your predictions? Because you've had the most correct, I think.
A good amount. So I said anti-Semitism federally illegal. That bill is still currently floating around the House. So we can call that a yellow. But just the fact that it is introduced in the Houses of Congress, and with the currently escalating situation in the Middle East, and with the pressure that the DNC is going to be experiencing from generally pro-Palestinian elements within it and outside of it in Chicago, I could see that happening.
One of the most interesting things about this one specifically is I'm pretty sure that in our episode in February where we introduced the bingo boards, I'm pretty sure I picked on you for this one saying, no, that like, how would this happen? And then sure enough, here we are. So,
yep. And then for another one,
assassination attempt on Trump.
That was big. Then I have Pope Francis has one more scandal. Of course, I think it was the blessing of what they called blessing of same-sex marriages, but it's not. It was blessing same-sex or like same-sex attracted individuals, but it was another scandal.
Excommunicated
excommunicated Vigano.
Yes, yep.
Then I also have state sovereignty reasserted, which you could make the argument that whatchamacallit, Texas with the border and plenty of other states, particularly like and pretty much any red state has been kind of thumbing its nose at at the federal government.
Air travel disaster from incompetence.
Yeah.
Can we call that one a green? With all the Boeing stuff that has come out?
Yeah, you could call that a green, but nobody's really died. So maybe not.
Maybe not a disaster.
Yeah, but definitely like I don't
at least a yellow.
I don't feel confident when I get into planes anymore. I'll tell you that much. A couple that I think are like tentative, like pretty easy ones to scoop up. Probably boots on the ground in the Middle East again. Mm-hmm. Some sort of false flag event in America.
Bitcoin surges to 75K. Yes. You almost had that.
Yeah, it just hit 70K the other day. So who knows? I think if Trump's leading the polls, it might hit it.
Any other ones that look close? Federal gun grab attempts.
Yep.
Alex was telling me earlier today something Kamala Harris said. I'm not.
Yeah, basically she said it was like within the first 100 days of her taking office, she was going to take executive action to do something about gun control. So that would be scary. But we'll see. But we've got Nick's up here right now.
Yeah, Nick gets a dog. Nick did get a dog.
Which is really like totally unfair, you know? I could have made a whole column of just things that I control, you know? But it's whatever.
One of us hits a 365 bench press.
Well, that had already happened.
That was you. Yep.
Yeah, I hit that back in college.
Yeah.
Hit a 375 this spring. So yeah. New PR.
Were there any other ones he had? New York City and Chicago turned against migrants. Yeah. More computer issues, of course. Technical difficulties. But yeah, point is we've done a decent job of some of these predictions. Weights and Wealth interviews a future potential guest. Nick had that one.
Yeah. Who do we interview?
We had Chris Nahibi.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Future potential guest.
Post Malone releases a country album. Nick had.
Yeah.
And
hey, Chuck Schumer might get the Zen flavors banned. So I think that is very likely. And then both me and Nick say.
Oh, I think this credit card one from Nick is good. So if Nick could have a bingo here if Trump gets reelected and if I go vegan, but I don't think that will happen. So
one of those two things is impossible, and we won't tell you which one. But yeah, so if you guys want like some, interesting, high level predictions about what's going to go on in 2025, be sure to check out our New Year's episode when it comes out.
I think we'll do that like on New Year's or whichever Monday's
we'll
closest
do it live.
to New Year's. Yeah, we'll do a recap of the year, see who won, and then we'll do our future 2025 predictions.
Yeah. I think Nick specifically arranged his in a way that would make me go easy. I'm just saying. But as far as like the actual topics today, like we're focusing on automation, right? That's the big craze these days with AI and stuff. We're not necessarily talking about that, but within the the high age of technology that we live in today, like you can automate pretty much anything. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about automating your finances and using machines when you lift.
It's still not automatic, but it's not like those like old like
the ab things,
the shakers, like those don't work, guys. I promise they don't work. It would be nice though. Everybody would have a 6-pack, and then I had
a roommate in college that had one of those. He would use it all the time. Whenever he was sitting down on the couch watching TV, he would put it on. It'd just be like vibrating on his abs, and then I'd just be thinking in my head like, dude, if you just actually did a cut and like lost weight, you'd probably be able to see your abs.
Yeah. But that takes too much work. You can't watch Seinfeld when you're doing ab pull downs. But going back to the topic, you can automate your IRA contributions, and this was a previous wealth wisdom, but for only $19.18 a day, you can actually max out your independent Roth or traditional IRA, and that's like barely any money. Mm-hmm. So like you could really set yourself up for like a pretty decent retirement. And like a lot of people, your 401k is great, but you also want to have a Roth. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if you like max out your Roth every year, like you'd still probably be pretty comfortable in retirement.
Oh, you'd have it depends on when you start, but if you start in your 20s, you can have
millions of dollars.
$2-3 million by the time you retire at 65.
So like it's like you'll have a safe cushion for sure. So basically $19.18 a day, max out your Roth or traditional IRAs. Like right now, I have mine set at $25 a day, just because I'm like, hey, then I have some extra cash and I can transfer it over to my brokerage all on the same app.
Yeah, and with that, you can also automate your 401k.
Yep.
I've talked before about how you can set up an allotment and it can directly pull before that direct deposit even hits your account. You can set up that allotment that goes straight into really whatever investment you want. But making it so that they call it paying yourself first, making it so that money doesn't even ever hit your bank account. It goes straight
you
in your
don't have the
investments.
option to do it. And then that's a great way to do it, especially if you're just in like one of those kind of like SPY index funds. Just throw it all in there. You know, you're 18 to 30 right now, like go for the more volatile one. There's no reason that you need to have bonds at 35 years old. That's something for like probably, I could say like probably like 65 plus. Like there's no point in holding something that's going to lose money in today's inflationary market. But two-step process here for the income limits. So you're going to divide the IRA contribution limit by 52 and set up weekly recurring contributions to your IRA account. And like we said, daily, if you do that same thing, it's $7,000. If you divide it by 365,
you get the 19.
It's $19.18. Quick maths on a week, it's like $140 a week. So it's the same amount of money, but you know, thinking smaller, you know, it's much easier to part with $19.18, which is pretty much your average Chipotle order, or even freaking McDonald's these days. You know, if you go there,
everything's gone up.
So rather than, I mean, there's no reason you can't have both, but if you're comfortable, you know, spending $20 a day, just serve yourself in the future and set up that recurring reinvestment daily or weekly or monthly, however it suits you. Yeah. But I've generally found that the daily is easier just because it's, you know, the death by 1,000 cuts rather than just boom, $300 or in this case, it would be like, you know, $560 on the 30th of every month. Yeah. That's a lot more harder. That's a lot more painful, right?
Let's move on to credit cards. Do you have your credit cards on autopay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
always had them
at least minimum. I've never had them off.
Yeah.
But what I do always just pay off the entire thing.
Yes, that's
like period, flat out. I do not.
Well, yeah. So you can, when you turn on autopay for your credit cards, you can set it to do the minimum, which is not a good idea.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because then you're going to rack up a lot of interest.
Yeah.
But you can also set it to autopay the full amount every month. Yeah. And then you're basically just using your credit card like a debit card, and you're getting points on your credit card, especially if you have something like American Express.
That's the huge advantage with using credit cards. Like credit cards can be dangerous, but if you use them properly, like I just went on a big move and I got a new credit card and I used it to rent the truck because it was like a $4,000 in 3 months to get this 60,000 points bonus. So I was like, okay, it's too easy. I just opened a new credit card. Yes, it impacts your credit. But at the same time, I was like 60,000 points plus all the points I'm going to earn from, you know, paying for this move that I'm going to get reimbursed for. Like it's a no-brainer because now that's 2 flights, 3 flights.
That's a very smart point. If you know you have a large expense coming up and you have the money to pay for it, you could open a new credit card that will give you
a large
bonus on spending a large amount within the first. Usually it's 3 months or 6 months. They have those. Yeah. That's a very good point.
It's kind of a fun game to play, you know, like especially if you can start combining them and stuff like that. Like on Amex, for example, having, you know, the platinum and the gold, they both feed into the same account. So when you buy your groceries and you go out to dinner with your wife or your girlfriend, and you're getting 4 times points on both those things with the gold, and then you're getting 4 times points on hotels and travel and stuff like that. 5 times points. But so like all these different things, which really as adults, that's probably most of what you do for fun, right? Like, yeah, you might have a hobby and you can still use that card for that. But those like high frequency events, which I would argue is probably like very regular things for most people to do, go out to dinner, buy groceries and travel, you know? you're going to be doing those things all the time if you're like a successful, like normal adult. And you might as well be getting a big like bounce back for that from your credit card company.
Absolutely.
But going back to automation. Yes. Auto pay is like super important, and there's differences between certain credit cards. Like going back to Amex, that's a charge card. So like they expect you to pay the whole thing. And like other cards you can carry a balance and accrue less interest, but you just got to be aware of the minutia when it comes to these. And you want to kind of like try and keep track of all that stuff. Like there's a lot of like random stuff that starts accruing and starts building up. Like you might have subscriptions that you forgot about and you're getting charged $30 a month for something that you have no idea you were getting charged for. So you might as well like try and like link all of your financial data into one app where you can track it, or just take the time to review your monthly bank statement and be like, oh wow, like I don't use that anymore. Why am I still paying for this?
What are some of the apps that can help you track that stuff?
Nick has a great list here. All likely have locks features unless you like pay for their service. But he has Empower, Rocket Money, Good Budget, Every Dollar, which is a Dave Ramsey thing. Those are all free. Mint was great, but that's no longer a thing. Paid options, if you fully use it, it might be worth more than what you pay, just in the amount of money you'll save. You Need a Budget, YNAB, is supposed to be the best available, $15 a month or $99 a year. Monarch Money, same price. And Quicken, which is $2.39 to $8.99 per month, which I imagine is a different tiered platform within that. And Ted, you've already talked about like the allotment and stuff like that. It's super easy. Yeah. It's almost like when you're divorced and like, they take out the child support money before, you can get to it. Like it's the same thing, but instead of being divorced and like unhappy, he's married, happy, and he's paying his future self. So there's two ways to look at it, right? Either way, you're not going to have as much money, but future you will be much more comfortable.
Moving on to the weight section here, using machines. So I'm not sure about you, Sean, but my first couple years lifting, I was using a lot of machines at the YMCA. Didn't really know what I was doing. Got in with some powerlifting guys more once I was in college, and really learned how to effectively use a barbell. I was
straight free weights from the beginning. I thought all the guys who used machines were like total wusses. I was like, oh. What a loser. So it wasn't
do you still use, I've watched you work out. A lot of your workouts are dumbbells and barbells. Do you use machines much?
Rarely.
I
would say top machines I use are like hack squats, like flies, and like the Smith machine for incline bench.
Okay. So one of the benefits of... especially for beginners, machines can be, not that they're not helpful for like more advanced lifters, because they are.
Yeah. But shout out to that TNF guy. I'm sure you've seen him, big blonde dude. But he did like a self experiment. It was pretty crazy, and he like got a membership at like Planet Fitness and only used machines, and then like tested his strength at the end of this like year-long experiment with himself, and he maintained everything. Wow. Like it was pretty nuts, and like I think he like almost like did like a bodybuilding show, just like only using Planet Fitness machines. Yeah. So it's like if you have the right intensity and like the the right nutrition and stuff like that, you can make significant progress, or at least like maintain high levels of like elite strength.
Yeah. And speaking of intensity, that's one of the reasons machines are really good for beginners, is because since with a machine, they're externally stabilized. Think of the difference between a leg press and a squat here. You're able to drive output on a machine that is externally stabilized because it doesn't require as much skill. Yeah. Compared to a barbell squat, requires a lot more skill, takes a lot more time to learn. You can't necessarily drive the same output and intensity on a barbell squat if you haven't really learned the movement as you can on the leg press. Yeah. So machines typically will have a lot more external stabilization, pads that you're sitting, laying down on, etc. And that allows you to just focus on driving the output with a much simpler movement pattern. So especially for beginners, I really like using machines, and I wasn't.
And older people getting back into it too.
Yeah, so machines have plenty of other uses. If you're doing a lot of high intensity work, machines can be really good because they're reducing. It's load management essentially, especially on your joints on a lot of machines. Also in rehab settings, machines are great. The leg extension that everyone uses for their leg day at the gym, that was initially for rehab. Yeah. And then they realized, oh, people's quads are growing on this. Maybe we can throw it in gyms. And then now it's part of everyone's leg day. Then other ways that you can incorporate machines are working around injuries. So I guess that falls under rehab, but like I've had several times where I was having some sort of injury and it was really nice to be able to use a machine.
Yeah. I was in a boot one time in college and I figured out a way to still get a leg day in. Like I literally loaded up the Smith machine and then used like a yoga mat and almost did like a kneeling squat.
Yeah.
And then leg curls, leg extensions.
Yeah. Coming back from my injuries from Ranger, when I got stress fractures in my hips and herniated 3 discs, I was like, oh, I can't really squat or deadlift. Like, what do I do? That's all I've done for my leg days. Like not all I've done, but that was such a big part of my leg days for so long. And so then I started using a lot of machines, was spamming the leg extension and leg curl because I was able to get around my injury and still hit legs that way. So machines can be really great if you have any kind of injury to work around it because a lot of times they'll involve less joints. A lot of machines allow you to be a lot more single joint focused. Yeah. A lot of times with free weights, I mean, you can do a dumbbell curl, but like a lot of your free weight exercises you think of, especially barbells, you're going to be using multiple joints.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely like a stabilization thing too. You know, like if you have a muscle that's failing or something like that, you can kind of take that out of the equation by being able to effectively isolate in that way. Makes it a lot safer, makes it a lot more comfortable. It allows you to, like you said, like ramp up the intensity and kind of get that mind muscle connection that so many people like really struggle with. I remember you were talking about a client who couldn't feel his biceps. Yeah. You know, and so you just taught him all these different variations, how to slow it down, how to like really focus on it. And now this guy can actually feel the muscle he's trying to work.
Super excited.
Yeah. It's awesome. You know?
Yeah. And then another thing that you just said there with the variation, if all you've ever done is trained free weights and barbells and dumbbells, getting that variation, doing those different exercises, first off, it's going to help your joints because you're not doing the same exact repetitive motions. You're able to change the motions with machines and do different exercises.
Do particular different angles.
Yeah,
and ranges of motion that otherwise you won't be able to meet.
Yeah, especially if you're at a larger gym, like the gym that Sean and I are at right now, DMV, it has so many machines.
It's unbelievable.
When I first got there, like my first couple of weeks, I was just trying out all these different machines because it's fun. Like it wasn't the optimal program, but I was like, okay, I'm here and there's 30 machines and I haven't ever been in a gym that has 10 of them. I'm going to try some of these.
I should really do that.
Yeah.
I think next week I'm going to do like a machine relay.
Yeah.
And
it's fun too. Yeah. And you can still it's not going to be the optimal program because you're not progressing on the same exercise you were doing before, but
you might learn something new.
And you can really push intensity on machines. So you can still get a really good workout in. And that's another way that I use machines. Sometimes if I'm crunched for time, you could make the same case with barbell exercises, but sometimes if I'm crunched for time, I'll just spam machines because you can really drive that intensity. And I feel like I can use a lot lower rest periods on machines than free weights. Yeah, partially because my cardio is terrible.
Drop sets are far easier. Drop sets are a ton easier on any type of externally stabilized platform, just because you're not, there's no danger of you collapsing. Like I've squatted until I've almost blacked out before, and that is not a fun feeling. Yeah. And I've had to save people from getting squished under 315 because they almost passed out. It's not fun, but on a leg press or a hack squat, you could squat until really, really pushing the intensity. And we're not saying do that. Yeah. But I'm saying that it is, if that's what you like, you can do it.
What exercise would you say the most times has made you dizzy and lightheaded and you're seeing fuzzy stars, feeling like you're about to go down?
I would say squatting probably.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Maybe Bulgarians.
Yeah. I feel like it's got to be back squat.
Yeah. I mean, it's the most intensity. It's the most, I think it's even bigger than deadlift in the way it like elicits like a massive like fight or flight response.
Axial loading is huge. The load on like your skeleton.
And it creates this like massive testosterone response in your body because it's like, wow, I need to get stronger. I need to get bigger.
Yeah, they've done studies and exercises that require more axial loading, more loading of your spine and your skeleton, produce greater testosterone. Like it's an acute testosterone increase, like during / post workout, but greater testosterone increases than using.
That's why you always feel so good after a nice like heavy leg day. Yeah, and you go in there and you rip a 3x5 or like a 10-8, 4-4-2. Like you're gonna come out feeling like $1 million. Yeah, because you just got this like massive hormone boost simply from doing what you should be doing at least once a week, preferably twice a week, which is legs.
I guess one final thing to get in here with the machines, if we're just talking about like the spine. So say you think you can't squat or deadlift because you've had a some sort of injury, whether it's like a bulging or herniated disc or whatever it is, and you think that you can only do machines from here on out. If you rehab effectively, you should be able to get back into those movements.
The human body is incredibly resilient. Yeah. And never let anyone tell you no. Do it smart, do it safe, but never just give up on something and you're being physically able to do it.
It starts with like small increases of range of motion. You're not going immediately back to your 300 or 400 pound back squat. But you can get back to that place where you're able to do those exercises. You just need to find probably a good physical therapist that that is about training you for the gym. There's a lot of physical therapists out there that will just give you like, this literally happened to me with my back post Ranger School. I went in the Army, doctors and physical therapists gave me body weight and band exercises to do. And I was like, how is this going to help me get back to rucking, lifting heavy, like all this stuff that I do? Yeah. And they were just like, oh, well, like we're just trying to like manage your pain and build a little bit of like stability right now. And then I went and found a really good physical therapist, Dr. Kev, Elevate Physical Fitness and Elevate Physical Therapy. But his program was wildly different than what the Army doctors and PTs gave me with the body weight and band exercise. He actually prepared me for getting back into the gym. So definitely, if you are someone that has had injuries and think you can't do something anymore, find a physical therapist that is going to give you a program to be in the gym, getting back to that performance level that you want to get back to.
100%. No,
that's not going to be machines for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
That's not where you want to be, because there's a lot of value in free weights, even though we're talking about machines mostly today.
Well, essentially what this all comes back down to is machines have a place. They're an important part of you getting the most out of every time you go to the gym. So don't neglect them. If you were a free weight elitist like me for a long time, they have their place, and they can be fun, like Ted. It's all about novelty sometimes.
Yeah. If you're working out for decades, which I think should be the goal, it's really nice to get that variability in there, not just for your joints, but just in terms of enjoyment. It's fun to try new things. I do this with, I've had a few clients that have been with me for years now, and part of their programming and why they keep coming back for more programs is I vary the exercises and the types of programs that
I think a great example of this is Eric Bugenhagen. One of my favorite Instagram follows, like he'll just like be like maxing out like the booty kickback. It has like 400 pounds on it. It's just like, what? Probably one of the funniest things you can funniest guys you can follow on Instagram. Highly recommend it if you're like a gym rat. Like he's great.
All right, guys. Be sure, if you're on YouTube, to hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Give us a like. Hit us with the comments. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a review or give us 5 stars if you think we deserve it. And as always, we appreciate when people spread the podcast by word of mouth. That's the best way for us to grow.
That's the most effective way for us to grow, and it also gets you an entry into our monthly raffle.
That is true. If you share it by word of mouth, or if you leave a review, hit us up on Instagram, let us know, and we'll give you a raffle draw.
That's the main thing, is like we don't get told when Instagram, or like when you share something, right? So you need to tell us that you've done this.
If you're a public account and you tag us, we see it. Sometimes we've had people that are private tag us, but we can't see that because they're private. So just tell us, and we'll give you a raffle entry.
Yep.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today at Weights and Wealth. And don't forget to apply today's lessons to live healthy and wealthy.
If this conversation will contribute to your fitness and financial gains, please share it with a friend or family member and give a 5-star review so more people can lift bigger weights and get bigger bank accounts.